Oh man! All right, as we keep transitioning, I'm gonna keep us flowing because otherwise we'll just laugh for hours.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
I'm okay with that.
2000s, man. This is where it starts getting even trickier,
Oh,
I think, because now
it did get
we're
tricky.
starting getting into contemporaries for me at least.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, I had to think about, because 2000 was about the time I got released from WWE. I started doing, TNA and Independence and stuff, and so I didn't really watch a whole lot. So I thought about, okay, who was there when I left that was still hot, and so and I also went with this one as just WWE teams because the other company wasn't here yet. So my 2000s is the Dudley Boys, and again, when I was typing these out, these are in no definite order. Like, to me, the Dudley Boys is not number one; they were just the first ones I wrote because I was thinking about the Dudley Boys for some reason. I'm weird like that. So the Dudleys, number 2 team, Edge and Christian, number 3 team, the Hardy Boys. And then later in the 2000s, number 4, the Brothers of Destruction. And I just thought the Brothers of Destruction is just Kane and Undertaker so cool. You can't, I love the stopping at the top of the ramp, looking back, raising the hands. You know what I mean? Like, there was very iconic stuff with their team that I loved. And we'll get into in the next couple of segments, we'll get into some other cross promotion references here.
Yeah, so for 2000, similarly, all WWE, WWF teams at this point, because that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
We were on the same page, and we wrote them down in the same pretty much order.
Oh,
Dudley's,
really?
Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys, and then I put APA for my final on the 4th right there. But even as we were just talking teams, I reminded of a team in the 90s that didn't really come to my head. And it's funny because, as you say, would it be on a Mount Rushmore of everyone? I don't know. But for me, I loved the Eliminators in ECW. I loved Perry Saturn and John Cronus. I thought they had something that was interesting, and Cronus was this dude who can do stuff that he shouldn't be able to do based on what he looked like.
Yeah, he's the Savio Vega. He's the Bumblebee. They shouldn't be able to fly, but they sure can. And so, that's a great one too. And that's another thing is, I'm using my points of reference, and so while I didn't see the local tag team in your VFW hall, they may be great, but they're not making it on my Mount Rushmore. So yours were pretty much the same as mine, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, we just switched on the Brothers of Destruction and APA at that period.
Oh, yours was APA. Yeah. Look, we've talked about this before. I had some of my greatest times working with John and Ron, for sure. It was some of the stiffest matches, but had a great time working with them. Did John and Briscoe's podcast earlier today, actually. It was great to catch up with them. We had some laughs. We kind of did what we're doing now. We're just laughing for like 2 hours, and then we just stopped.
And then bringing up Ron, it makes me go back to the 80s, and I was a Doom tag team fan, man.
Heck yeah, you were a Doom fan.
Butch Reed, Ron Simmons, and Teddy Long, come on, man. Yes,
especially when they had the hoods on.
Oh,
you even knew who it was, but it didn't matter because they had black hoods on, and it was Doom. Heck yeah. Man, this is awesome.
This is awesome.
My Mount Rushmore sucks, but this conversation is awesome.
So 2010s. This one got a little bit weird on my list because I'm starting to pick teams, and I think this was kind of in 2010. I was in my hardcore phase of really trying to get hired by WWE and putting on the hard press. So I was less into watching the product and more into developing my skill set.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've gone first on a couple, so I'm going to throw out... I put the Shield on there. I mean, when talking 2010s, I mean, they had impact and were monumental and made a presence and statement, and obviously they're all successful today. Also had the Usos, who we're talking 2 decades strong of being one of the top tag teams there is.
Amen.
Has to be considered as a name. You can look at the history of teams, but when looking at the presence and saying, hey, 10 years from now, they're one of those historic teams that everyone's going to be talking about.
Yeah.
I also put the New Day.
Yep.
And then my final... I put the Wyatt family, but then I started trying to think outside the box. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Ring of Honor in my days, but I know the impact that the Briscoes had in the 2010 era of being one of those top tag teams and making a statement and changing the game a little bit. So I started to think that although I don't know, and I'm too familiar with most of their matches. I know that they were a team that would be considered one of those Mount Rushmore teams of that decade.
I literally had them on my list and took them off, but totally you could remove who I put on and who them easily, because look, what I look for too, and you're going to find that out when I read you my 2010 list here in a second, is who made an impact in the world of wrestling. Maybe not on television, maybe not, but what team do people still talk about? Oh man, they were a great team. And that's, I think that's what you just touched on right there.
Yep.
So was that all of yours?
Yeah, that was all of mine on that one.
So mine, the 2010s, Claudio and Chris Hero.
All right.
And that's why
Kings of Wrestling.
That's why I said you'll see what I mean in a minute. They made a difference in the wrestling game. I heard tell of them on the independent circuit while I was, writing the show, or not writing it, but while I was producing the show and stuff for WWE, and even before that on the indies, like they were making a name for themselves, and they were doing it by wrestling really well in tag matches. And so I put them on there because I think they deserve their props. I too have the same three as your other ones: the Shield, New Day, and the Usos. And look, you
can't go anywhere else, really.
You can't go anywhere else because that's who we were dealing with at the time. There's no other. When we get to the current ones, I got some people around. You know what I mean? But for this one, I went with because look, I think that I'll go back to it. That cage match, the Hell in the Cell with the Usos and New Day. For one thing, so proud of it because we had to fight like cats and dogs to get the match to happen. For one thing, a lot of people were against a tag match in Hell in the Cell. It was like that doesn't even it doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. Like what? And so it was like we talked him into letting us do it, and then those guys went out and delivered in such a way that I'll never forget that. So I got to keep those guys on there. The Claudio, what were they? The
Kings of Wrestling.
Kings of Wrestling. Yeah, the KOW, cow. No, man cow. So yeah, Claudio, Shield, New Day.
But then Claudio went on to be an incredibly successful tag team wrestler. Captured WWE tag team titles with Tyson Kidd. Captured it with Sheamus. I mean,
100%, man. He's been a great. Hey, look, he's a great singles competitor too. I think what held him back a little bit is his promo skills, and it's not that he's doesn't have a great sense of humor and is funny. It's just. He speaks 56 languages, and English is one of them, and he's not, I mean, he's good at it, and you can totally understand him. That's not what I'm getting at, but he's not the best promo in the world. But he is the best wrestler in the world, maybe. You know what I mean? So it just begs to wonder, like, why didn't they went for a second there with Heyman being his mouthpiece, and like it just felt like it was going to go somewhere, and it didn't, man. And it's just sad because he's really good at what he does.
Absolutely.